Dunkin' or Shake Shack?
Shake Shack in a landslide. They've got great burgers. They've got great shakes. Okay, both of them will make my dad bod get even more sexy, but I'm taking Shake Shack. Who you going with?
I'm taking Dunkin' Donuts because there's nothing better when you're in line and the guy from Boston's behind and goes, yo, sweetheart, I'll take 2 crawlers, I'll take sugar in my coffee. That you don't get that at Shake Shack. You only get that at Dunkin' Donuts. Now I'm going to throw you a curveball.
You need to do the rest of the podcast in that accent, by the way. Continue.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of It's Called Soccer Summer Series. Please remember to subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to make sure you never miss an episode. Dax McCarty, how are we doing this morning?
Doing great, man. Doing great. But I got to say, I liked your background last week a lot better.
Me too.
With Lake Tahoe. But hey, man, you just finished up playing in what I believe was like a charity pro-am out in Lake Tahoe. You had us on the edge of our seat in the green room, following you, tied for the lead, going into the final day, and then you remembered your New England Revolution days?
Yes,
or what, man?
I did.
We started choking? What happened, brother?
So, Dax, it's real simple, okay? You know the saying, pressure makes diamonds?
Yes.
Well, pressure makes cubic zirconia for Taylor in the final 4 holes. To legitimate, if you would have told me before the tournament started, I'd be tied for the lead going into 14 or 15, whatever hole was, I would have signed the dotted line. What I would have not known is that all of a sudden, the 4-foot par putts looked like 9-foot par putts to me. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, I lost it. But Dax, honestly, was the most fun I've had in a long time, dude.
That's awesome, man. Well, you had us on the edge of our seats, and we were just refreshing our phones. We're devastated for you. Listen, if I had to play in a pro-am, I would finish last by about a mile. So full props to you, full credit to you for doing as well as you did. What do we got coming up?
Well, we've got an interesting one because I was flying back. You actually sat down with Dallas Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey, who actually made the switch from Major League Soccer to the NFL. We'll discuss how rivals become friends after Mohamed Kudus' move to Spurs. Me and Dax then will talk about which city is better. I can't believe he's even going to argue this. Boston or New York? New York. I just said New York.
New York.
New York. But let's start right away. The Club World Cup final, because the result that you and I did not see coming.
No, and by the way, I'm pretty sure that means I'm still in the lead with our picks of the week because we picked the exact same result except a different scoreline. Anyways, I digress. Wow, what a shocker! We were watching the game in the green room, and before our shows for MLS Season Pass, I didn't know what to say. I was stunned. I was stunned at not only how well Chelsea played, but how poor PSG was. And I don't want to take anything away from Chelsea, okay? We had some Chelsea fans chirping us in our prediction post, which great. All
They should.
They should. Great. Listen, in this job, you have to make predictions. And if you were going to tell me that one of us would have taken Chelsea before that game, we would have gotten destroyed. PSG just beat Real Madrid 4-0. Chelsea was good during the tournament. I'd argue they weren't great. They weren't highly impressive in any sense of the word. But what I saw from Chelsea was absolutely fantastic. It was a tactical masterclass from Maresca in terms of the way that he used Reece James, the way that he used Cole Palmer. It was almost the 3-box-3. It gave me optimism for Chelsea fans going into this Premier League season thinking, I was unsure if Chelsea was going to be able to compete even for a top 4 spot. I'm thinking now, after that performance, if they can replicate that with any type of consistency, they're going to be challengers for the title 100% because Cole Palmer was absolutely fantastic. Take nothing away from the performance from Chelsea. They were ruthless. They were clinical. They didn't care about possession. They absolutely cut through PSG's midfield, which we've talked about as one of the best in the world. And for PSG, it was really disappointing because I had just spoken about how good their press was. Forget about the attacking football that they play, all their great players. they press you like crazy. They press high up the field. They win the ball high up the field. Chelsea completely exposed them. T, what'd you make of the game? Did you see anything differently?
As I was on the, final 6-7 holes of the tournament, there were a lot of fans telling me, have you seen the scoreline of the Club World Cup final? And right away, my natural reaction was, oh, PSG blew them out.
Yeah.
They absolutely destroyed them. And as I'm walking down 18, a fan says Chelsea won 3-0.
You thought you were getting punked?
Exactly. It took me completely out of where I was in the moment for about 10 seconds because I'm like, there's no way he's got to be pulling my leg.
Maybe is that why you fell apart?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's why all of a sudden I was like, oh, well, that fell apart. So did my final 4 holes. Point is this, is that I'm going to start with Cole Palmer. He scored almost 2 identical goals, but more so, there is a calmness to him when everything else around him is completely chaos.
Sure.
And the finishes are brilliant, they're classy, but they're as if the game slows down for him when everyone else speeds up. And we talk about the great ones, that's what happens in any sport. I also am going to say something to you that's going to catch you off guard a little bit. I feel like I'm watching Kevin De Bruyne again. I don't know what it is about him, and I know they're different types of players, but follow me on this. Kevin De Bruyne was so elegant at times in the final third when everything got chaotic, and this is when he was at his best. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute, wasn't Cole Palmer training with Man City when Kevin De Bruyne was at his best?
Yep.
And the answer is yes. So when I watch Cole Palmer play, I honestly believe this. And I don't want to put the cart before the horse. I think he's a top 15, 20 player in the world right now. And I don't think that's that ludicrous to say that because of what I see in the pressure moments with him. I'm not saying Chelsea's going to be the best team in Europe this year. But what I am saying is Cole Palmer may be the best player.
Wow.
Because the way he plays in the pressure moments. And then there's a little attitude to him.
Yep.
Because after the game on DAZN, he was asked about Maresca and the Chelsea that he was building, and he said, quote, everyone's talked a lot of shit about us all season long, but I feel like we're going in the right direction. End quote. Dex, you and I are full-blown American. I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved everything about it because it was an American version of Cole Palmer that was very direct, so the rest of the world's like, what is he talking about?
Right.
It's like, nah. You were talking shit, and I just threw it back in your face. I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. But again, from our perspective, if you watched Chelsea play last year, they were good at their best, but they were inconsistent. And so this reminds me a little bit of Tim Ream and what he said when they got to the final, and it's kind of just like, hey, listen.
Great comparison.
You go and win the tournament, you can talk as much crap as you want, you can throw it back in all the analysts and the experts' faces, no problem. But at the end of the day, what we have to do is analyze what we see, and what we saw from Chelsea last year was inconsistency, scrapping to make the top 4, and I love it though. I love it though because Cole Palmer, he's not well media trained, and so you get the full version of his attitude.
Which I'm okay with,
I'm totally fine with
him.
it. Whatever pops into his head, he says. But I just love how Maresca is using his best players. Caicedo, a lot of criticism, heavy price tag. He looks finally like he is worth the price they paid for him. He looks like he's going to be one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League. Enzo Fernández, inconsistent. Where do you play him? Do you play him deep? Do you play him as an attacking 8? As a dual 10 with Cole Palmer, with wingbacks that push high, João Pedro finding pockets underneath and then running off players. I mean, they just had such a good balance about them.
You hit a couple things that are very important. First and foremost, to anyone that's watching or listening to this, at the highest level, the margins are so thin. And the games can go so differently very quickly. Why do I bring that up? Because Chelsea almost did a bait and switch on all of us. The entire tournament, they bitched. They complained. Maresca, Enzo Fernández, everybody. And it got me thinking they're mentally going to be fragile in the final. And they were the exact opposite.
They were ruthless.
And so if I was a Chelsea supporter right now, that's where I would be very intrigued by Maresca. Because now he's got the persona publicly that I could say this, But when those closed doors behind me and I'm with my boys and I'm with my group, you have no idea the kind of team we're going to show up with. I've got a Cole Palmer that will address the public and play and talk how we will. I thought the bigger storyline were how disappointing PSG was.
It's their worst performance in months.
It is. They lost their heads.
Yeah.
Because right when I looked at my cell phone and finally had a moment to see the highlights, all I saw was Enrique hitting João Pedro.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, what the hell happened in the Club World Cup final?
Yeah.
And then Neves had the red card. I don't know what this does to them. Does this look like a team that can now be punched in the face and then they're rattled and then they start getting red cards and they lose everything about it?
Yep.
Or is this just a blip? They go take their break, they come back for the European season, and then we see the same PSG. Dax, I think that's the biggest talking point in European football this year will be what does this Club World Cup final do to PSG and what does it do to Chelsea? Because I think it could go both ways for both teams, and I just feel more confident that it's going to be more positive for Chelsea than it is going to be negative for PSG, but I could be wrong because Enrique was swinging haymakers at João Pedro for no reason.
I mean, Luis Enrique, he strikes me as such a calm, cool, collected character. Doesn't it just make you wonder, like, what was going on during the game or what was said after the game that would make him lose his cool? I think he tried to give him a left hook there. It was strange. And
Dax, before we, but real quick, I forgot to ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I forgot. So the final, correct me if I'm wrong, the final kicked off 9 minutes late.
Yep.
I said this on the last podcast with you. The finals are dress rehearsal for FIFA because the World Cup finals in the same building less than a year from now.
Yep.
And it kicked off 9 minutes late.
Yeah.
9 minutes late.
Why?
Am I reading too much into this, or was that just, or should I say, maybe FIFA learns? Why is it, how is a final kicking off late?
Yeah, I don't know why that happened. I mean, T, you've seen how the Club World Cup especially has differed from other international tournaments, okay? And so this is kind of the point I want to hit with the late kickoff and the halftime show, and halftime being 24 minutes or whatever it was. I think there's something to be said about every big tournament, the country that it's played in, there should be some nuance to how it is presented, right? And so without taking away the essence of the sport of soccer, the sport of football, right? You do have to find little ways to make it uniquely American. And so here are 3 ways that the Club World Cup was kind of uniquely American, and the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like. The first one that I loved, the ref cam. We got to keep the ref cam. You got to keep the ref cam because those
gives
angles...
me vertigo, but I love it.
Yeah, but you got to keep the ref cam because it gives you angles that you would never, ever otherwise get. And so as long as the refs are cool with it, got to keep the ref cam. That's fantastic TV. The halftime show... I'm a little bit back and forth on it, but I think you keep the halftime show for the final because we're in the U.S. It's pageantry, right? The players get a little bit more of a break. They get a little bit more because sometimes, T, you know how it goes. If you have 15-minute halftime and coaches are going through tactically what they want to change, right? Players can rest a little bit. It seems a little bit rushed, and so players can find ways to stay warm and stay okay in the locker room for an extra 10 minutes. I'm okay with the halftime show because it makes it feel, to have an American reference, it makes it feel like the Super Bowl, which is, the biggest sporting, people would argue the biggest sporting event on the planet. Everybody in the soccer world knows that the World Cup final is the biggest sporting event on the planet, no questions asked. So have a little pageantry to go with it. But one thing I want get rid of, the individual player walkouts. Don't want it. Don't need it. Dude. It's awful. If I was a player, I'd be like, this sucks. Just go back to the normal walkouts. Hold
on 1 second, Dax. As a player, I would love it. I would milk that up. You know me well enough. I would have absolutely loved it. I would have demanded that I go last. I would have done the whole 9 yards and done that. I'm kidding, but seriously, what are we doing, dude?
Come on. Maybe that's why the final kicked off late. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know it kicked off late, but maybe Dembele was like, I'm just gonna slow play this and I'm gonna walk out slow. Just go back to the normal player walkouts. 2 things that I want to keep, and then 1 that I would get rid of. Those are my kind of overall takes from the Club World Cup, and like you said, a dress rehearsal for next summer.
It was a massive, massive success in my opinion. And yes, we had ups and downs. We had thunderstorms. We had everything. But we had a Club World Cup final that saw Chelsea surprise PSG 3-0. It's Called Soccer is brought to you by our partner, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The Club World Cup and Gold Cup might be over, but that doesn't mean your soccer watching is. With Major League Soccer and the Women's Euros, there's still plenty to get excited for. And with FanDuel, you can make every moment more, like betting which team will lift the cup, which player will score, and more. There is an endless number of markets available, and FanDuel gives you the chance for a greater payout when you combine your picks to create a same-game parlay. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's $150 in bonus bets. San Diego FC hosting Vancouver Whitecaps. Total goals 2.5. I like fireworks in San Diego. So don't just watch, bet. Don't miss out. Visit FanDuel.com/ICS to download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and keep your summer of soccer going with FanDuel. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. All right, Dax, we're back with the picks of the week. And as you said earlier in the podcast, no change in the scores because we are complete idiots. Chelsea dismantling PSG. Now, I mixed up our picks of the week this week. I've gone outside the realm of soccer and football for some of our choices because you and I like to talk about other things than just Major League Soccer. However, we are going to start with Major League Soccer. The 19th of July, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, a huge game in the Western Conference, San Diego FC versus Vancouver at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego. I need a correct score from you, and I need a goal score.
Yeah, this is an exciting game. I wish Vancouver was in slightly better form because, Taylor, since they got demolished in the CONCACAF Champions Cup final 5-0, they've been struggling. They've had 6 games since then. They've lost 4. They've only won 2. They've conceded 6 goals in their last 2 games, haven't scored any, so they're not in the best form right now. And San Diego, my pick for the Supporter Shield, coming off a pretty good victory on the road against the Chicago Fire. I'm going to take San Diego, and I'm going to take San Diego 3-2, but I think Vancouver plays a little bit better. I think Brian White gets back on the score sheet, but Anders Dreyer is a 1A and 1B MVP candidate with Lionel Messi right now. You have Chucky Lozano on the other side. Dreyer got a brace in his last game, but I think that Chucky Lozano actually has a big game and he gets on the score sheet. I think Chucky Lozano scores twice. San Diego wins 3-2. Who you got?
We talked a lot about Vancouver after the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, Dex, and I just don't see it. I don't believe in them being the best team in the West. I know they had a great start to the season. You hit the nail on the head. They've lost 4 of their last 6 games. I love San Diego. I love the way they go about their business. They give up goals. I think it's 4-2 San Diego, and I'll take Anders Dreyer with being my goal scorer. I also want to talk about a game. Now, it's going to be just right around the corner. It's going to be July 16th, Miami-Cincinnati, coming off an interesting weekend for both teams. Cincinnati came out, blew the doors off of it, and then lost at home to the rival Columbus Crew 4-2. 7:30 p.m. in Cincinnati. Who do you have?
Yeah, this is a really fun game, and obviously 2 teams challenging for trophies this year, 2 teams challenging for the Supporter Shield. Lionel Messi in the best form that he's been in since he got to Major League Soccer. Taylor, he's got a brace in 5 consecutive games. That's an MLS record. With all that being said, coming off my prediction of the Club World Cup final, I might look like an idiot here. I think that Cincinnati, coming off a tough result to the Columbus Crew where they gave up a 2-goal lead, Pat Noonan talked about it. Matt Miazga talked about it after the game. They had a kind of a come-to-Jesus meeting. I think they're going to iron some things out. I think Messi still scores, but I think he only scores 1. I think we have a really good game, a high-scoring game. I'm going with Cincinnati to rebound and win at home 3-2 because they have another MVP candidate on their side, Evander, who, if it wasn't for Dreyer and Messi, we'd be talking about him in some of the best form of his career right now as well. Who you got?
I think Cincinnati wins this game. I think Cincinnati wins the game because they don't have to travel. I think Miami's got to show tired legs at some point after the Club World Cup tournament and all of that, and they've been traveling. I think Cincinnati wins this game comfortably. I don't think Miami really does a lot, particularly defending in transition. I think Denke is going to show up and cause some havoc against this team. I'll take Denke as a goal scorer, and I'll take Cincinnati 3-1. Now, I want to transition outside of soccer, so to speak, in Major League Soccer. So let's start with UFC, the 19th of July in New Orleans, Holloway versus Poirier. I know you're not a huge UFC fan, but I'm going to give you this quick preview and you give me an answer.
Okay.
When I say Holloway and Poirier to the general public, not to the UFC fan, most people are going to say Poirier. What's interesting is Holloway is the favorite. So before you give your answer, I would be stunned in New Orleans on the 19th of July at Smoothie King Center if Holloway doesn't leave this one as the victor. You?
Yeah, I don't, like you said, T, I'm a fan of UFC. I don't follow it as much. I think I'm going to take Max Holloway to win that one. Just completely uneducated opinion. It's just more of a feel. Who you got?
I'm going to take Holloway for sure. Now, Unified Heavyweight World Championship, the 19th of July, Wembley Stadium at London. Usyk versus Dubois. And this is a little bit of a rematch because remember 2 years ago, Usyk climbed out of nowhere to stop Dubois after a controversial low blow. So the pair will clash again. I'm not saying it's revenge, but I think for some people it is. Usyk then went on to become the first undisputed world heavyweight champion in the four-belt era. All of that, I have no idea what it means. All I'm telling you is Usyk is the favorite. Who do you have?
All right, so this one, again, not as educated on these fighters, but I do know that I like someone who's a heavy hitter, someone who kind of goes for it. He goes for a knockout. I have
so the opposite of you.
Exactly. I'm very methodical, very calm. Okay, I want to take Dubois for a knockout. Feeling a little crazy right now, and if you're gonna go the opposite direction, I want to give you a chance to get back in the game.
I love this. I absolutely love this. And by the way, the total purse that will be split between the two, now this is a report floating out of Ukraine, is over 200 million.
Wow.
Should be an awesome, awesome heavyweight fight. Last thing, and obviously the most important, it's the Open Championship. It's the 153rd Open Championship, 17th through the 20th of July at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story, Dax, because this is all new for you. 2019, this is where Rory McIlroy grew up. His first hole in 2019, he got an 8, and he misses the cut by 1. Why do I tell you that? Shane Lowry, who Rory kind of grew up with in youth golf and everything else, he ended up winning. So this was a huge pivotal moment for Shane Lowry in his career. I am going to give you the winner. I think it's Rory McIlroy. Wow. And here's why. The Scottish Open last week, he was really good. But you never want to win the tournament before the tournament that you want to win. Secondly, and most importantly, he's already got the career Grand Slam. And he said in his press conference on Monday that this was the tournament that he circled more than Augusta because he was disappointed how 2019 went. I am willing to bet right now, not that Rory McIlroy will win, but that you will take Scottie Scheffler.
Yes, I was going to say, that's a cool story. I was about to say, cool story, Hansel. Doesn't matter. I'm still taking Scottie Scheffler, all right? Because while it is a great story, and I love that about Rory, I still think Scottie Scheffler is the best golfer in the world. I would never pick against him, okay? Rory, it's a great story. Taylor is absolutely doing you justice with telling me why you are the favorite and why you're going for this tournament. I got Scottie Scheffler. All the Scottie Scheffler stock. He's going to win.
Brandon Aubrey coming up next. Hansel out.
All right, thanks Brandon Aubrey for joining us here on It's Called Soccer. Just Dax here for now. Taylor's busy after his big golf tournament performance. Hey man, I just want to know what's going on these days. What are your preparations like for the NFL season upcoming right now?
Yeah, we've got less than a week till I head out for training camp. So right now, putting the finishing touches on, trying to not let too much rust accumulate in the off season. So just going out and kicking.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I want to take you back before we get into the NFL stuff to your early career. For people that don't know, you actually were a soccer player. You played in MLS. You were drafted in 2017 by Toronto FC. You were a center back. Can you just walk us through the early part of your athletic career and what it was like getting drafted into the MLS?
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole life growing up, from a young age, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. Anytime anyone asked me as a youth in elementary school, I'd always write on those cards, hey, I want to be a professional soccer player. So
yeah,
I did everything in my power to make that happen. I played a little bit of basketball, baseball, and football when I was really young.
Yeah.
But I committed really early to soccer, got myself recruited to Notre Dame, went there, played really well in college. We had actually won a national championship my freshman year. I wasn't a huge part of it, but anytime you're on a team training and working with the guys, you feel like you've contributed. But
of course.
Yeah, then moved to center back, didn't get back to the national championship, but did well enough to get myself drafted, like you mentioned, in the first round to Toronto FC. And at the MLS, I never took off. Got loaned out to Toronto FC 2 in the USL, played my games there, had a good stint. We weren't a very competitive team in the USL, but got to learn from guys like Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Giovinco in the locker room what it meant to be a pro. It was maybe a little bit too late for me to translate that.
Yeah.
So they moved on from me, and I signed with the USL side, Bethlehem Steel FC, which doesn't exist anymore. I played 1 year there and had a blast. We were a more competitive side, an actual USL team affiliated with Philadelphia Union. So we had to practice a few times with them. But at the end of the season, my contract was up, and they actually disbanded that team and went to Philadelphia Union 2. So I was looking for another team in the USL. Yeah. And, you know, I spent the time at Notre Dame getting my degree. And at the time, I'm not sure what it is now, but the USL wasn't paying enough to keep me from, deciding to pursue my degree where I could make a little bit more money. And I just got married. It was time to start a family. And to be honest, I did not like playing center back. So it was time. It was time for me at that
Dude,
point.
That's so fascinating. Honestly, I mean, first of all, how fortunate for you to get drafted into that 2017 Toronto FC team. And for people who don't know, that team actually ended up going on to win their domestic treble, the Canadian Championship, the Supporter Shield, MLS Cup. You were in a locker room, you mentioned it, with great players, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, one of the best MLS players of all time, and Sebastian Giovinco. Can you just talk a little bit about what that experience was like as a rookie and kind of what your impressions of MLS were?
Yeah, growing up, I watched those guys on the national teams and in the MLS my whole life. So kind of treated it as a fan, just kind of, I wasn't mentally prepared for what it meant to be drafted to a team like that with that many superstars, and, kind of didn't feel like I belonged. Felt like I'm just still felt like that little kid growing up playing club soccer, and now I'm with these guys I've watched my whole life. Didn't feel like I belonged, which was the wrong mentality to have. Was afraid to make mistakes and wanted to impress those guys, but also didn't want to be the reason that they lost. So anytime I got on the field, it's a little bit nerve-wracking and just afraid to make mistakes. And as a center back, or really any professional sport, you can't play that way. So it wasn't long before I was passed over for the opportunity. Because being drafted in the first round is a big deal in the MLS, but not as much as other American sports. Because you have other other ways to acquire players. You have the international guys you're competing with.
I wanted to ask you, before you got into the NFL, there was another player who I played with in the under-17 national team program and at FC Dallas named Josh Lambo, who also made the transition from being he was an MLS goalkeeper, but he actually retired from MLS, went back to college at Texas A&M, and then became a kicker and went on to have a very good NFL career. Did you reach out to him at all? Did you guys talk about the transition and what that would be like?
Yeah, so that's a long journey. So from the time I retired was probably 2018 October, and then I didn't get signed by the Cowboys until 2023 January. So it was a long time, and like I said, I retired for financial reasons, and I just didn't enjoy it anymore. And I worked as a software engineer in the Dallas area. I moved back to Dallas. I'm originally from Dallas, and got a job with my degree, writing code. Not super thrilled about it. Obviously, going from being a professional athlete to just about anything else is not exciting. So I wanted to pursue something. I didn't know if I'd made a mistake retiring, and probably should stick with the decision I made financially, but I wanted to scratch that athletic itch, so decided to pursue kicking. Football had always been my release from soccer, and my job as a coder. We'd just sit down and watch every NFL game, and I'd have a bunch of fantasy football teams. So one day when we were watching it, my wife just said, "I think you could do that."
I love that.
Yeah, right. That's a wife that believes, because
100%. You're biggest fan.
Yeah, I think that's crazy that she thought that. But we've got a ball and went out the field and tried it, and it looked like I had maybe a little bit of natural ability, and it translated well from soccer. So I just Googled kicking coaches in the Dallas area and found a guy, went out to his camp, and it happened to be for high school and like even elementary school, middle school kickers that are trying to figure it out. But
so you're the old guy walking in there.
Yeah, it was a little awkward, but at that point I didn't really care. I felt like I had embarrassed myself enough at the soccer level by being scared to make mistakes or put myself out there. So I just wasn't going to let that happen again.
I love that.
And I worked with that coach for about 2 years. I never reached out to Josh, but obviously he talked to me. My kicking coach mentioned that Josh had done it before, so it's not super outlandish.
Right.
And that I've got the natural talent. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be hard to get somebody to give me a shot. But if you keep going and keep putting yourself out there, eventually it could happen. As long as you're ready for it when it comes, then they can't take it away from you. And the NFL kept saying, "You look like you could do it, but without game film, we're not going to give you an opportunity." Heard that a million times.
Yeah.
So the USFL popped open, which is a spring league football, kind of a second tier football league, which hasn't existed for a long time. So there's not a whole lot of opportunity outside of college and NFL for football, and to have something like this pop up when I was ready for an opportunity is just really, really incredibly lucky timing. My story made sense to them, so they gave me a shot, and I played really well for 2 seasons there. Cowboys were watching the whole time and decided to give me an opportunity in training camp to compete for the kicking job. I competed with another kicker, eventually won that job out, and got a few preseason games on my own. They let me play those games, and I did well enough to keep the spot going into week 1. And then the life of a kicker, you're week to week. So
yeah, totally.
Especially on your first season. So just kind of kept showing up each week and trying to make one kick at a time, and eventually got to the end of the season and was a Pro Bowler. And I just kind of like, what the heck just happened? And I still really haven't taken the time to really fully understand exactly how I got here, but
what you're doing is incredible. I mean, genuinely, I hope like young kids or even guys in college that maybe are unsure about their place in the professional sports world really hear your story, because it's such a great story of like perseverance, belief in yourself, having no fear. I love what you said about you were playing scared in Toronto FC, and if you want to become a professional athlete, like you just can't do that. And so You actually what were you, a 27, 28-year-old rookie in the Cowboys locker room?
Yeah, 28-year-old rookie.
You were essentially Van Wilder going into that locker room, right?
Yes.
What are some of the differences between an NFL locker room and an MLS locker room, if there are some? And as a kicker, are you kind of feeling like you're a goalkeeper, right? Because like your position is a little bit different than everyone else on the team.
Yeah, the goalkeeper comparison is perfect. We practice on our own. At least there's 3 of us. I guess there's usually 3 goalkeepers on a MLS roster as well. But yeah, just me, punter, long snapper. We do our own thing during practice. We're only called in for special teams periods, and then kind of on our own. Everyone's looking over like, do those guys actually do anything? Which is more of a specialist than it is a goalkeeper, because the goalkeepers are working probably harder than the rest of us. The differences in locker rooms, I'd say, TFC might have been slightly different because they did have a lot of international players, but we had kind of like the fresh out of college players that kind of hung out together. The older veterans, you know, like your designated players, were kind of hanging out, and the international guys kind of in their own cliques with whatever languages they spoke. And then, you know, Giovinco had his crew of Italian people in there with him taking care of them. But and the nice part about being in an NFL locker room is everyone comes from a shared background, I guess, except for me. Everyone in there has played college football. Everyone has had the same milestones where they went to the draft, whether they got drafted or not. College, high school football. So there's a lot of it's really easy to relate to the guys in there for the most part, which maybe it was me being a little bit timid in the locker room at VFC, a little young and timid. I don't really talk when spoken to. So I just say the guys in the NFL locker room, shared background, and then soccer backgrounds come from all over the world, which is,
I hear you, man. It's so true. And not in an NFL locker room, I imagine there's not too many former professional soccer players turn coders turn NFL players. So I imagine you were definitely unique in that aspect. Let's keep it Dallas Cowboys focused. I just want people to realize how great of a start to an NFL career that you have had. Set the NFL record for most consecutive field goals made to start a career with 19. You're the first kicker in NFL history to make 2 field goals from 59 plus yards out. You made one from 59 and from 60. And you also hit a 65-yarder, which is the longest in Cowboys history and the second longest in NFL history. So no pressure on you to keep that that type of stuff going. What are your goals for the season with the Cowboys, both as a team and then for you personally? How do you continue to raise the bar?
Yeah, goals as a team are always easy in the NFL. It's just win Super Bowl, whatever it takes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be pretty. You just got to get yourself into the playoffs first, and then find a way to win 4 or 5 games. Just win that Super Bowl. And then personal goals as a kicker, also fairly easy for me. It's 90% is the benchmark that I want to hit each and every year. If I go 90% every season for my career, I'll retire as the most accurate kicker in the history of NFL. So I know that's not it's not a super attainable goal, but one that I want to strive for. Obviously, you don't want to. You want perfection, but perfection is not attainable. And if I miss a kick throughout the season, which is going to happen, I don't want to get too down on myself. So I set 90%. Never know how many kicks I'm going to have. Extra points is 95. The bar is a little bit higher.
What do you make of the U.S. men's national team right now? What do you make of their chances in the World Cup next year?
I think they have a good shot. Like, they have a lot of really good players, especially in the important positions. You got Pulisic. Anything could be possible with him. I played with Brendan Aronson at Bethlehem Steel, so I'm a huge supporter of his. I want to see him get more minutes. I know he's right on the cusp there, coming off the bench a lot of the time. So I love watching him. Turner's another fun story with a convert from baseball, right? So I like him. I think they have a shot at winning, especially with the home field advantage. I don't think we can expect them to win, but I expect them to get out of the group and hopefully win that first knockout stage game.
I think those are fair expectations for sure. I mean, obviously not the greatest summer that the U.S. men's national team has ever had, but especially under Pochettino getting to the Gold Cup final, and then you get your best players to come back in. Hopefully they can find something, a little bit of magic. I agree with you. Dude, you've been so gracious with your time. Let's get you out of here on some fun ones, okay? I came up with these all on my own, so we'll see how they go. They're kind of fun, okay? But you were a former center back. Obviously, you're a kicker now. I'm going to give you two scenarios, and you tell me which scenario you think you would have any chance of success at, okay? You're 1v1 with Messi in the open field, and you're the last defender. Can you stop him getting in on goal, which would probably be a sure goal? Or your other scenario is, in some alternate universe, Derrick Henry is returning kickoffs, and you're 1v1 with Derrick Henry in the open field, and if you don't tackle him, he scores a touchdown. Which scenario are you having more success with?
Well, I think I'm having more success with defending Messi there, because I can at least pull him down, take the tactical yellow. Well, probably be a red card, but
probably be a red card, but he wouldn't score.
Yeah. With Henry, not only am I not tackling him, but I might die. It's a big human.
All right, man. Last one. I'm a big fantasy football player. Okay. How high should I draft you in my fantasy football draft? Okay, because I think you're going to be the first kicker off the board. What are we saying here? I mean, I don't think I can draft you in the top 8 rounds. I think that would be a little bit crazy. But where are you drafting yourself?
Oh boy. If I'm drafting myself, I'm taking myself first pick of whatever my first pick is. But
Okay.
I'm playing with a bunch of Cowboys fans in my family. So
Right.
I might not last that long, but for the general public, I'd say, draft all of your starters and then take a backup running back and wide receiver. And if I'm gone at that point, they've reached. So, but then maybe if you want to take them there, which however many positions you have on your roster, I'd say take 2 bench players first.
I love that. All right, man. Listen, I'm going to draft you with my first round pick and try to win the league. And if I do,
go.
I will send you it and you can kind of give me a congratulations. Brandon, thank you so much for your time, man. This was absolutely fantastic. Best of luck this season. I hope you keep setting records. Best of luck to you guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
All right, Dax, this is the only reason why I did the podcast this week. Boston versus New York. New England Revolution at the New York Red Bulls this weekend. This was a massive rivalry in your career. I know you played for 17 MLS clubs, but your time at the Red Bulls was very important. My former club versus one of yours, obviously, but New York Red Bulls is the club that I thought you were your best at. I enjoyed covering you and those Red Bull teams. I know I bust your chops all the time, but you guys were a fun team to cover. You guys were really, really aggressive, confident. You had a chip on your shoulder. I just love covering those teams. Anyways, we're going to do a little Boston versus New York. All right? I know you did a little research, so I'm kind of proud of you on this. So let's start with baseball, because that's where this originated, because of Babe Ruth going from the Red Sox to the Yankees. So give me your answer. Red Sox or Yankees?
This one's easy for me, Taylor. It's the Yankees. They are one of the biggest brands in sports, as are the Red Sox. I think the Yankees are a little bit bigger. Got a soft spot in my heart for the Yankees. I have a feeling I know which way you're going, but who you got?
No, that's awesome, because, you know, the Yankees, when New York City came into the league, were part owners of New York City. So it's awesome that you went against your number one rival. So well done. I live in Boston, been here for 25 years. I have to take the Red Sox. And listen, here's why. I love the Red Sox. I love Fenway Park. I love everything about it. And I just love the fact that in 2004, to get to the World Series was the greatest comeback in the American League Championship Series. That's why I'll take the Red Sox, and also I want my kids to survive in Boston. Let's go fast food. Dunkin' or Shake Shack?
This one is an absolute no-brainer for me, considering that I love donuts, but I love real donuts, Taylor, okay? Shake Shack in a landslide. They've got great burgers. They've got great shakes. okay? Both of them will make my dad bod get even more sexy. But I'm taking Shake Shack. Who you going with?
I'm taking Dunkin' Donuts because there's nothing better when you're in line and the guy from Boston's behind and go, yo, sweetheart, I'll take 2 crawlers. I'll take sugar in my coffee. That you don't get that at Shake Shack. You only get that at Dunkin' Donuts. Now I'm going to throw you a curveball.
You need to do the rest of the podcast in that accent, by the way. Continue. Go ahead.
The tourist attraction, Faneuil Hall or Times Square?
All right. I'm sorry, New York City. And I actually think real New Yorkers will sympathize and agree with me on this one.
Yes.
I can't stand Times Square.
Yes.
Times Square is the bane of my existence. When I first got to the Red Bulls, I was like, ooh, let's go to Times Square. This will be great. No. And after one or two times being there, I was like, I've seen all I need to see. I actively avoided Times Square at all costs. If anyone wanted to go meet me in Times Square, say, hey, go have a great time. I'm out. Faneuil Hall, did a little research. I've never been there, but I've never been. Taylor, you realize that when we played the New England Revolution, we were out in Foxborough, brother. I wasn't taking a 45-minute to an hour Uber just to be like, ooh, Faneuil Hall. Let's go check out some Boston history, okay? Regardless, I still pick Faneuil Hall.
Yeah, it's Faneuil Hall. I show up at Times Square and immediately my heart rate's at 175 and I feel like I'm under pressure. I feel like I'm in that Will Smith movie of like the future where everything's just, it's the end of the world. Get me out of Times Square. If I never go to Times Square again, I will die a happy man. I'm going to throw quarterbacks, Tom Brady or Eli Manning. And what's interesting for me is, listen, Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Yep.
But he lost 2 Super Bowls to Eli Manning.
He sure did. And that is why I'm taking Eli, because I love an underdog story. Eli is this really interesting, likable character. And every time I watched Eli play, do you know the feeling I had, Taylor?
Yep.
This guy's a super average quarterback. I was like, okay, he makes some big time throws. But then the thing I remember most about Eli is when he would throw a pick or he would get tackled for a sack, they would always go to him 10, 15 seconds later on the sideline. And he always had this dumb look on his face.
He looked like he was sucking on a lemon or like smelling a really bad fart. He was always like...
He just looked confused. He was just like... And I was like, okay, this guy... I don't know what it is about Eli, but he's just a really likable character. And the fact that, listen, I'm not going to argue against Tom Brady being the GOAT because he is. But in this debate, I'm taking Eli. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm taking Tom Brady because he is the GOAT. Now, if you were asking me which quarterback I'm taking to go get a beer with, I'm taking Eli Manning. I think there's something very unique about the Mannings and their personality and self-deprecation, all of that. But as a quarterback, miss me with anything. Tom Brady left Belichick and immediately won a Super Bowl in Tampa. He's the greatest of all time. Now, I alluded to this earlier. Freedom Trail or Fifth Avenue?
Listen, I'm not a huge history buff. I already went down history lane with Faneuil Hall.
Way.
Okay? Listen, Taylor, I only went to a year and a half of college, all right? I graduated high school in 3 years. It was a fake high school down in residency in Bradenton, Florida, okay? I'm just a jock, all right? And I already went history on the first one. I am going Fifth Avenue just strictly for my wife. Loves Fifth Avenue. Do a little bit of shopping. Grab some good coffee. I'm taking Fifth Avenue, and I'm wondering if you're ever going to go against Boston in this at all, ever.
No, because I like where I live and everything else. But for the high school graduate Dax McCarty, do you know how to spell Fifth Avenue?
Absolutely. F-I-F. Fifth. I plead the fifth.
I would actually take Fifth Avenue on this because I've done the Freedom Trail a million times. Fifth Avenue, there's always something different. There's nothing different about the Freedom Trail. The third, fourth, fifth, or the 25th time that you do it. So I would take the Fifth Avenue.
Good place to go to take a nap for you.
It's a great place. And by the way, I did graduate college. It just took me 27 years, and I'm not a doctor. Celtics or Knicks? This is I don't even know why we're doing this.
Agreed. This one's the Celtics pretty easily. Larry Bird, Bill Russell. I mean, listen, you could go through the history. Obviously, the Celtics right now. The only thing I will say is I played in New York during Linsanity. And I went to a couple games, and I was like, man, this guy is taking over New York City. I will say, obviously, Boston and the Celtics, the expectation of success is always there. But New York, when the Knicks are good, is electric. Regardless, taking the Celtics.
They're a complete debacle, though. Look at what they did. Tom Thibodeau let go. They don't even have a replacement in mind. This is literally over the past 4 or 5 weeks. I think the better debate would have been Madison Square Garden or the Boston Garden. I think that is a real debate. And I think no matter what, Madison Square Garden will always take the upper edge because of the market, but Celtics have history. They have tradition. This is an interesting year. Jason Tatum torn Achilles.
Yep.
What do they do? New ownership, all of that. I'm taking the Celtics. Bruins or Rangers, this is stupid. I can't believe they even put this on the rundown. This is Bruins. I'm not even going to ask Dax who he likes or who he cares.
You are, because I went to a Rangers playoff game with my wife. It was one of the dates we went on when we were in New York, and we had a great time. It was awesome. I'm taking the Rangers. I don't care about your history with the Bruins and all that good stuff. Give me the Rangers.
And then the final one, the most important question I have for you. Bradley Wright Phillips of the New York Red Bulls or Taylor Twellman of the New England Revolution?
Oh, Taylor. This is the easiest one on the entire panel. And this is Bradley Wright Phillips in a landslide.
I agree.
The guy was a goal-scoring machine, as were you. I know you've got an MVP under your belt. I don't know how many golden boots you have. I think you have 1. Bradley Wright Phillips has 2.
I have 2, but carry on.
Okay, carry on. Okay, good. There you go. Listen, there's not much between you guys. I'll just say, even as a college graduate, he's got a little bit more upstairs.
He does.
Is what it is.
He does. Brad has a little bit more.
Yeah.
I would take Bradley Wright Phillips.
I know you would.
He just did it in an interesting style. He dealt with Thierry Henry at times when it was indifferent for Bradley Wright Phillips. And the greatest compliment I can give Bradley Wright Phillips is this, is when I watched the game, I knew every single time his entire purpose was to score as many goals in that game. And I love the way he played for you guys. I love the way he spearheaded everything. And to your point, first off, he doesn't have more upstairs, but he has this. If you want to go get a beer and you want to have a good time, Bradley Wright Phillips is your choice. Dax, we're back with our social segment. The first thing that caught my attention this week came from Tottenham Hotspur's TikTok account. Mickey Van de Ven and Mohamed Kudus were reunited at Tottenham preseason trading after Kudus' $74 million move from West Ham to Spurs. Now, Kudus was sent off in a 4-1 defeat for West Ham against Tottenham last season for slapping Van de Ven. So let's take a look at Spurs' social media team as they help squash the beef from last season. Okay, one, just for you guys at home, in order for Dax McCarty and Taylor Twellman to do the summer soccer series of It's Called Soccer, we had to do that exact same thing. Now, Dax never slapped me. I never slapped. No, I'm just kidding. I'd rather address it right away than not do anything at all with it. And now, nobody's really going to talk about it. I love everything about this.
Taylor, that was perfect. I had, how when you have your career, if there's a player who is a good player, a player you respect, but a player you absolutely cannot stand, there's a mutual respect and understanding there, and you're just like, if I ever become teammates with this guy, screw that.
Yep.
Well, I had a little rivalry going on with the prime New York Red Bulls and prime Columbus Crew under Greg Berhalter. I could not stand Tony Chani. We could not stand each other, all right? There was always something. He would always leave a little bit extra in a tackle. He would always be chirping at me. There was one game where we were going back at each other, and I was giving him the business. I was like, yeah, you got traded from this team after a couple months, and nobody wants you in MLS. And he looked at me, and he laughed, and he goes, what are you talking about? You just got traded from DC United after 6 months. And I was like, fair point. But we ended up on the same team. We ended up with the Chicago Fire signing Tony Tchani kind of at the last minute as being a good midfielder, a veteran, experienced midfielder that he was at that point in his career. And I'll never forget when he first walked into the locker room and he was dapping everybody up. He got to me. There were no words spoken. There was just kind of a handshake and a cheeky smile and a laugh that said, you know what? Let's squash it right now. That was all fun and games. It stayed on the field and we had a good laugh about it. It was, and you know this as well as I do, that it gets competitive out there. As long as it got a little tense, it got a little personal, but never crossed the line between us. And we went on to be teammates, and he was a good dude. And I love everything about the social media stuff because you have to address it. You said it kind of off the top. Address it, squash it. Did you ever have anything like that with a defender?
No. But 2 questions for you. First and foremost, when was the last time you spoke with Tony?
It's been a minute. Probably 2018-ish.
Okay, and two, more important, how many players, first person they think of that they wish they could slap would have been me?
I'd say it's double digits. I'd say it's at least
no doubt.
10.
No doubt. And I think at least 10 were my teammates in New England. We did it. I got off the airplane. Dax handled Brandon with really good questions. By the way, great question about the fantasy team. I love that. And if Brandon thinks that anyone's taken a kicker in the NFL fantasy draft before the 10th round, he's delusional. We'll be back next Wednesday where we'll be covering all of the biggest news in the world of soccer, including the MLS All-Star Game, where Dax and I will be in Austin, Texas. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. We'll see you from Austin.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.